A very good morning, everyone. Welcome to StudyIQ IAS English. Welcome to the Hindu newspaper analysis with me for 29th November 2025. I am Saumya, and like every day, the idea behind these classes is to look at the Hindu newspaper, the New Delhi edition, from a UPSC perspective. The idea is to take up all the exam relevant articles, to analyze them, break them down, including the editorial articles, and then have a discussion, an exchange of viewpoints about various ways in which these articles relate with UPSC syllabus, constitution, and various other subjects like polity, economics, IR, as well as history, geography, right? Because we should not forget whatever we have studied here. And ultimately, we can use all these points in answer writing. They may also help us in recalling everything while we are writing the prelims exam. So, before I show you what exactly is today's agenda, here is a list of 8 articles that I have selected from the Hindu newspaper New Delhi edition. The first two of these articles have been taken from the editorial page, like every day, which is page number 6 today. And now, before I start with the first article, let me quickly see which of my dear aspirants are already on board. So we have Bulbul. Good morning, Bulbul. You were the first one to join us today, along with Sitaraman Terukula and aspirant. My best wishes and lots of blessings to you, dear Terukula. Tomorrow is your exam. All right. God bless you. My prayers are with you. All right. May you definitely achieve success in this exam as well and in the UPSC as well. Good morning, Shikha, Tarun, Saurav, Priyanshu. Eric has come. As other aspirants keep joining us. So just now, Siva has joined us, and as other people keep joining, a very good morning to each one of you, my dear. Let's proceed with the first article for the day. The first article, page number 6, was it 6? Yes, page number 6, editorial article. What does this article have to say? Well, this article is talking about India's disaster management, India's disaster response financing. We all know, we have seen many times that in India there are often a lot of controversies between the central government and the state government when it comes to finance, money. Despite the fact that we have the finance commission at the center, we have the state finance commissions. The central government does provide a horizontal as well as a vertical share in the total revenue, collections, taxes of its fiscal pool. However, throughout the history of 14th, 15th Finance Commission, there has often been complaint coming from so many states, especially the southern Indian states. Now you might wonder, why do so many complaints exclusively come from Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Karnataka? The reason is very clear. Let's not forget, these are also the states who are high in terms of GDP and total income. They are the states that are more industrialized, more urbanized, and these also are the states who have successfully controlled their population growth, fertility rate in the last few decades. Today, these states feel very, very disillusioned. They feel that the central government continues to give money only to states on the basis of population and backwardness as one of the criteria. In that case, it is quite valid for certain Deccan Indian states to experience the kind of frustration that why are we given a lesser share in the horizontal pool of the Central Finance Commission from the Union government? Is it our mistake that we have controlled population successfully? Is it our mistake that we have already achieved a TFR, total fertility rate, that is much below the replacement level fertility? Why are we being punished? And that's a valid question also. So therefore, this time, as the 16th Finance Commission is almost there for us, there is a lot of responsibility on the shoulders of the 16th Finance Commission. The biggest responsibility is because today the states are expecting much more transparency. States are expecting much more fairness when it comes to the money that they receive. And this article here, actually, it corresponds with GS paper 3 because we are looking at disaster management and disaster management finance and response in India. This article is also talking about the center state fiscal relationship. So now let's quickly understand, in this background of what we just said, what are the main points made by this article for UPSC GS paper 3. Very good morning, Nagulan, Sakshi and Anup. That's fine, Anup. You're most welcome, my dear. Today, a lot of my dear aspirants are still, they haven't joined. It's okay. They might be joining. We'll begin. Main points of this article. Biggest point is the issue of disaster response financing in India highlights a growing imbalance between the union and the states. There is a major imbalance. Recent fund allocations have happened in India. Very good, Tarun, absolutely. So now recent fund allocations have been done. What has been done? Recent fund allocations have been done. But there are complaints coming. There are states like Kerala. Kerala says, now Kerala has a new complaint when it comes to disaster finance. What is disaster finance? We all know that India is a very unique topography. Certain states like Uttarakhand, Sikkim, Himachal, they are more prone to flash flooding, cloudburst and landslides. Kerala is also prone to landslide. Then there are some other states that are in the coast of the Bay of Bengal. They are very prone to flooding, tsunamis and cyclones recently. Now as we are talking, Sri Lanka and certain parts of coastal India are already battered. They are already battering the effect of cyclone Ditwa. Right? Because we know that Bay of Bengal is very, very popular, very, very common site of various cyclones owing to the conditions there. It is these states who always need some special help from the central government, as aspirant tells us. Article 280, Finance Commission. Very good. And Article 281, the sharing of funds through horizontal and vertical pool to the states by Finance Commission. Very good. Absolutely, Taru. That's a very good idea. And that's what we are requesting to the 16th Finance Commission now. Right? Now, coming back here, what is happening? States like Kerala are complaining. They are saying that we are disaster prone states. We often experience not only cyclone but also landslide, flash flood. But the problem is the central government doesn't give us as much money as we need to mitigate that disaster. And that's a very bad thing to do. Recently, the central government has released about rupees 260 crore. So, central government has released rupees 260 crore to Kerala for the landslide that happened in Wayanad. So, we all know Wayanad was in the news. Extreme amount of landslides had happened, leading to life loss, infrastructure loss. Kerala says that my total loss is coming out to be 2,200 crore rupees. That's the claim made by Kerala. That because of Wayanad landslides, I have lost about 2200 crore rupees. But the central government has only chosen to give me rupees 260 crore. This indicates a shift away from cooperative federalism. What is cooperative federalism? I often tell you it is also called marble cake federalism. The idea propagated from 2014 onwards by the Niti Aayog, that state governments in India are not like subsidiaries of the center. In fact, they are active stakeholders in planning. And that's why the planning model which Reshma was reminding us that day, top to bottom planning model. Central government makes the plan, it is imposed on the state governments. That's not the kind of planning that is viable in a country with 28 states. It doesn't work then. So therefore, from 2014, we completely stopped the role of finance commission or planning commission and we replaced it with the Niti Aayog, National Institution for Transforming India, which is based on the principle of cooperative federalism, that every state should have a dialogue, talk, negotiation with the center, and together all the stakeholders should then create plans for India in a down to top model. In a down to top model. Right? That's Niti Aayog, that's cooperative federalism. Today, as states like Kerala are saying we needed 2,200 crore rupees owing to disasters, and central government gives us only rupees 260 crore, it is the defeat of cooperative federalism. It also means that when it comes to disaster financing, giving finance to mitigate disaster, the central government works on a very, very centralized and a very, very conditional model when it comes to giving finance for disaster mitigation to various states. This is not new in India. If you remember, last month you and I were discussing about the PM Shri scheme. How Tamil Nadu was one state that was not interested. It did not want to implement the new education policy 2020 because one of the features of the policy, typically the 3-language formula, it doesn't sit well with many southern Indian states, including Kerala, Tamil Nadu. Therefore, Tamil Nadu refused to implement NEP. But then the central government also said, I will not give you any money under PM Shri scheme. The idea of PM Shri, which was in the news throughout 2025, a very important topic for next year UPSC. The idea was to modernize existing school infrastructure. Central government said, I won't give you money. And then out of frustration, Tamil Nadu agreed to implement NEP. Even then we asked a question about cooperative federalism. Is this the right kind of cooperative federalism? Where the states are then being forced to accept certain central government models without them willingly doing so. Today, once again, same thing is being highlighted when Kerala says, instead of 2,000 crore, I was given 260 crore to manage Wayanad landslide disaster. That means there is an acute problem when it comes to centralized, conventional, centrally controlled model of disaster financing in India. So let's understand how does this policy work in India, the policy of disaster financing. Now, in India, disaster financing is typically done under the Disaster Management Act 2005. What act? Disaster Management Act 2005. Very good aspirant. Yes, we are looking at bottom to top model of planning. That's marble cake federalism, cooperative federalism, the same idea behind 73rd, 74th Amendment Act 1992, Schedule 11, Schedule 12, Panchayati Raj and urban local bodies, that planning to be successful has to start at the bottom and then it has to be shared with the top. Rather than the conventional top to bottom model, that's a failure by and large. Now, coming back to how in India disaster finance operates. So, in India, disaster finance operates under the Disaster Management Act 2005, and it has two funds here. Very clearly, under the Disaster Management Act 2005, remember please, we have two funds. One is the State Disaster Response Fund, and the other is the National Disaster Response Fund. Okay, so we have these two funds here. Looking at the State Disaster Response Fund, it is funded in the ratio of 75 is to 25 between center and the states. That means central government will give you 75% of the whole finance, while the state government is only supposed to give 25%. That's the State Disaster Management or Response Fund. Right. It is now, listen carefully. The thing about SDRF is that although 75% central government contributes, but this money cannot be used casually. This money cannot be used to manage normal problems of the state, like poverty, welfare, or other things. No, it's not allowed. This money should only be used for immediate disaster relief. In case there is a natural disaster, a landslide, a flood, a cloud burst, or anything. In that case, this money from SDRF can be used to finance food, shelter, medicine, clean drinking water, and medical supplies. That's it. So it's only used for immediate relief. But then what about NDRF? NDRF is fully funded by the central government. Okay. So here the states have no financial stakeholding. This is fully funded by the central government. It is intended only in the case of severe disasters. Now please listen very carefully. The question is based on that. You understood the difference between SDRF and NDRF? While SDRF is 75% coming from center, NDRF is fully central government financed. It is only to be used in the case of severe natural disasters, not casually. Now, although the designed balance of the system shows that there is a central dominance in both. If you see casually, if you see carefully, in fact, there is a central dominance in both the cases. In the case of SDRF also, 75% stakeholding comes from the union government. In the case of NDRF also, 100% funding comes from central government. But the problem in India is that now we have very outdated protocols when it comes to disaster management. The central government always tries to dominate the state governments because we have outdated, absolutely obsolete, age-old relief norms. A very good example is rupees 4 lakh compensation per death of an individual, of a victim who died in a natural disaster tragedy. Only rupees 4 lakh per death, per victim. Then there is an ambiguity, lack of clarity in defining severe disaster. How can you categorize severe disaster? By the number of deaths? By the number of infrastructural collapse? by the number of data which relates to revenue loss, that's problematic. Yes, absolutely aspirant, very well said. Now, NDRF is under section 44. Very, very good. Beautiful, thank you. Anybody else who has an opinion on that? NDRF, SDRF? The problem is we are using outdated norms now. Only rupees 4 lakh per death. Who will decide what is a severe tragedy? Because the National Disaster Response Fund can only be used in the case of severe disaster. Who defines severe disaster? Is it easy to define? It depends on the discretion of the center. Today, Kerala might say Wayanad was a severe disaster. Central government might say no, it wasn't. I'm not giving you more than 26 crores, 260 crores. I'm not giving a penny more than that. Kerala says I want 2,200. Look at the gap. Central government says no, only 260 crore. So there is an ambiguity in defining severe disaster. Then one more major problem. In case any natural disaster happens also, there is no such provision on automatic fund release. A state will have to take multiple approvals before it can access any financial help from the center, and that causes administrative bureaucratic delays in the process. So when you really need the money as a state grappling with disaster, you don't get that money. So what's the point? Then the allocation criteria is very weak. Listen carefully. Allocation criteria is very weak. The money that comes from NDRF is not being given on the scale and the damage due to disaster. It's being given on the basis of population of the state. A state that's highly populated will always get more money. A state that's underpopulated or sparsely populated, less dense, will get less money under NDRF. And that's a very faulty criteria. That means you have a weak allocation criteria that's only based on population and area. It is not based on any kind of real danger or real disaster measurement. If you look at Kerala as a case study here, then the central idea proposed by Kerala's State Disaster Response Fund was that we have limited resources. The tragedy after Wayanad has been tremendous. Please give us some more help. But the central government, you know what it said? The central government told Kerala that you already have money in your SDRF. You already have finance that is accumulated in your state disaster response fund. Then why do you want more money from us? Very good morning, Sumedh. Why do you want more money from us? Central government said, please first use the balance that you have and then only we'll give you some money. That's a very poor justification because the balance that Kerala has is not the balance it has as a form of saving or surplus. It is a balance that has to be spent anyway. It is a balance that has already been allocated to some disaster management necessity or some kind of a need. It is pending balance. It is not a surplus balance, by the way. So states are also handicapped here because states cannot use the money of SDRF for reconstruction or livelihood restoration. They can only use it in the case of acute disaster management, food, medical health, water, medicine, all that. Nothing they can do. And even if they have a little surplus left, they have to use it to rehabilitate so many people that have lost their homes and their livelihoods because of disaster. So what will the states do? They have to maintain some liquidity reserve. They cannot make a zero balance, right? They cannot have a zero balance in their SDRF fund. And that is something center has to understand. What kind of a lame argument is that? Telling Kerala that you have some balance, first use that. That balance is already a committed balance into some other need. It is not extra profit, by the way. Similar problem happens in Tamil Nadu. 2018, we had cyclone Gaj. Remember? Gaj or Gaja as you call it. 2018 cyclone Gaja, Tamil Nadu. Same problem. State government kept asking more money, center did not release. Karnataka floods, 2019. The state government kept on raising demands for more money. Central government said, no, you have money with your SDRF, please spend that. This reflects a system where aid and help are becoming based on negotiation and conditions rather than unconditional guaranteed support. If you believe in cooperative federalism, you must also know that state governments will have to depend on the central government because we are a country that follows unitary bias, right? We are a quasi-federal country. In that case, the center government will have some upper hand, whether it comes to legislation, 7th schedule, whether it comes to finances. If they make it so conditional for the state government to get support in the case of disaster, then what's the point of cooperative federalism? The state governments will have to negotiate, request, and only then they get some money. Sometimes they don't get even after that. So in India, now that 16th Finance Commission is almost there. It has a great responsibility. It has a responsibility of redefining the disaster response finance in India completely. It has to be redefined today. It has to be distributed among the states in a responsible manner under the SDRF from the central government. The current formula that is being used by the 14th and the 15th Finance Commission is not based on actual disaster. They are based on two parameters, as Saurav is asking. Two parameters only, Saurav. One is population of that state, another total geographical area of that state. Central government and Finance Commission still feels that the larger a state, the more money will be needed. The more the population, the more money is needed. And the same criteria is used by Central Finance Commission under Article 281. When it divides the fund between states in the form of horizontal devolution, it always gives more money to states like UP and Bihar and Jharkhand and Rajasthan, which have a slightly higher population. They would not give the same money to states like Kerala, Tamil Nadu, who have successfully reduced their population. What kind of an example are we giving? That those who manage their population successfully will not get central help? Those who are needy and those who need financial help will always get more help? Is that not patronizing backwardness? Is that not patronizing the inability to control population and fertility rate? That's the question this article is asking. Now, if this formula is used, giving disaster finance based on population and total area, what about states which are small in size but very disaster prone? Himachal Pradesh, Uttarakhand, Kerala, highly prone to landslide, cloudburst. Odisha, Andhra, West Bengal, extremely prone to cyclones and flooding. Assam and Bihar, hugely flood prone. Is it their mistake that they are small in size or they have a lesser population as compared to some other states? They often receive allocation not on the basis of the actual disaster they are suffering from, but only on the basis of their population and only on the basis of their total land area. That is not proportional to the disaster and the damage that they have suffered. Can't we learn from global practices like US? In US, we measure per capita damage threshold. And that's how the central government gives money to the disaster impacted people. In Mexico, there is a practice whenever there is a natural disaster, it leads to automatic release of fund from the central government. There is no need for any approval. There is no need for any last minute paperwork or bureaucratic delay. It's an automatic fund release that gets triggered. Philippines, we actually measure the rainfall and casualty index. How much was the extra rainfall? How many deaths happened? How many households suffer? And on that basis, they provide some kind of disaster finance. If you look at Caribbean was in the news recently. Why was Caribbean Sea in the news recently? Because American President Trump had conducted what? Operation Southern Spear in Venezuela and Colombia, because President Trump says these countries are into narcotic and drug trafficking. One more thing, US had conducted military drills with a small island nation called Trinidad and Tobago. That's very near the coast of Venezuela. That created the fear of another war in the Caribbean Sea. Do not forget that, please remember. Coming back to the agenda, Africa and Caribbean countries, they act by giving satellite-based coverage. They take data from satellite, and on the basis of that satellite, they provide insurance to those who've suffered. They give pre-insurance also, because satellite gives enough data about which areas are more prone to damage. And then finally, Australia. The funding in case of disaster is linked to the capacity a state has to spend on welfare. There is a proper formula for doing that. In India, we don't have any such formula. And that's the duty of the 16th Finance Commission. That can play a key role here. What can the 16th Finance Commission do differently? Listen carefully. One, it can update the compensation norms to victims. Rather than a blanket 4 lakh per death, see the kind of death that has happened. Is that a premature death? Is that a death where the single earning member of the household has died? Is this victim already living below poverty line or is a victim of multidimensional poverty? Is this victim coming from a backward caste community or tribe? All that are also crucial when you give some upper cap. Blindly giving 4 lakh cap will not help. Imagine a rich and a poor person dying in a tragedy and the government giving 4 lakh each. For the rich person, it doesn't mean it's a token amount, it's nothing. But for the poor person, it could redefine their future completely. Similarly, using a comprehensive disaster vulnerability index. Please make a national index, a database. Which areas are highly disaster prone and they should deserve more funding from the central government. Not on the basis of population or area, as Saurav says, as Bulbul is asking a very fundamental question. What about PM Care Fund? We gave it in the case of COVID. We give it in the case of certain natural disasters. Today, why does the central government say we don't have the capacity to pay? 2,200 crore is too much, Kerala is asking. Therefore, is it about a lack of political will? That's a very good question, Bulbul. Beautiful. Very good morning. Very good morning, Munna. Very good morning, Shekhar. Very good morning. Who else was there? Very good morning, Sagar. And eventually, Kojumba is here. Finally, Kojumba is here. My dear Kojumba, missing you. Good morning. Finally, you're here. Okay. So that's the condition. So very good question there. Anup, very well said. A proper inspection before sending any aid for disaster. Exactly what countries like Philippines, what countries like America are doing. Now, without any investigation, why would you give so much disaster finance? That's the problem. So 16th Finance Commission can do many more things, like make it completely automatic. Just like in the case of countries like Mexico. In India also, we can make disaster finance automatic without the need for elaborate approvals. Make assistance grant based, not loan based. Don't give loan in the form of disaster finance. Are you punishing a state for disaster? Give them unconditional support. This should be a support fund, not a loan based fund. And then eventually it is about make rules that are transparent for each state on the basis of what they need. After all, we are a socialistic democracy. I often remind you of 1944, when India before independence had signed the Bombay Plan. And what did the Bombay Plan say? India commits to a socialistic democracy, which means democracy means cooperative federalism. But socialism is also a key principle. Our preamble also say India is a socialist, sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic. Socialist. That means to each state according to their need and from each state according to their capacity. You cannot put an upper threshold for every state, right? So rather than weakening cooperative federalism, rather than getting the disaster response delayed, the Wayanad case is a reminder. It's a stark warning that in India we need disaster finance revolution. And the only body that can do it successfully now. And we have high hopes from the upcoming 16th Finance Commission. So that's it for this article. And before I show you the question, very good morning there. Mukesh, good morning. All right. Okay. Southern Spear, yes, aspirant. Absolutely well said. So quickly the question now. Consider the following statements regarding disaster financing in India. 1. The National Disaster Response Fund is jointly funded by Union and the state government in a 75-25 ratio. Read carefully, please. 2. The classification of a disaster as severe automatically triggers financial assistance from central government. 3. The current allocation criteria used by Finance Commission are mainly based on population and total geographical area of the state. And 4. Under the State Disaster Response Fund, SDRF, states have a full autonomy, full freedom to use funds both for immediate relief and long-term reconstruction. So which of these do you think are valid? Terukula is answering. He already answered. It's a very confusing question. Sitaram is here. Good morning, dear. Think once again. Think once again. Most students are saying the answer is B. Should it be B in that case? Yes, Priyanshu Saurav. Should it be B? No, Priyanshu says it has to be A. Okay. Then what's the confusion all about? Okay, Anup, let's have a look at the question, Bulbul. All right, Tarun is also answering. Wonderful. Let's have a look at the question, Shekhar. Yes, it's a confusing question. See, we have to make some confusing questions also. This is the pattern of UPSC, no? First option, the National Disaster Response Fund is jointly funded by Union and the state government. No, it is not. That's what we discussed. NDRF is 100% financed by the center. SDRF, State Disaster Response Fund is jointly financed, 75% by center, 25% by state. So first is not correct. If first is not correct, please eliminate D. Keep eliminating to save your time. 2. The classification of disaster as severe automatically triggers financial help from the center. In India, do we have automatic release of fund? No. That's why we are requesting that please make our system like Mexico and American system, where in the case of disaster, there is automatically a kind of fund that starts coming in for disaster hit areas. 16 Finance Commission should do that. So second is also not correct. If second is not correct, eliminate C. 3. The current allocation used by Finance Commission are mainly based on area and population. Correct. That's exactly what Bulbul said. Saurav was asking, why? What's the logic behind this criteria? And he had a very valid question. That was a smart question by him. Yes, that's not correct. That's why we need changes today. Yes, Priyanshu? Very good, Priyanshu. Absolutely, Shikha. Now you understood. Yes, Tarun. Only SDRF is financed 75 is to 25. Beautiful there. Okay, now the last one. Third is correct. Under the State Disaster Response Fund, states have a complete freedom. They have autonomy to use this money for both immediate response, relief, and long-term relief. No, that's what we discussed clearly in the article. I also told at that point, please listen carefully, bacha, listen carefully, everyone, that SDRF can only be used in the case of severe disasters only as immediate disaster response like medicine, food, rehabilitation, clothing, nothing else. The states are also helpless over here. That is why when center government told Kerala that you have a balance in your account, Kerala was fed up. It said, what should I do with the balance? Can I use it for long-term reconstruction? No. I have already pending expenditures. The states have no such freedom that they can use this money in whatever they want to do. No. Only for immediate emergency response, no problem. Very well tried, very well thought. I never want the right answer from you. Please be very, very clear with that. I do not want any aspirant to give me the right answer. Answer is my last priority. I want you to think, to analyze every option so that you remember in the longer term. Yes. And that is successful because you have tried very hard. So I'm really proud and I'm very happy. So well done, Raja, Terukula, Shekhar, Kojumba, Saurav. Absolutely fine, bacha. Very well done, Priyanshu. All of you there. Kojumba, correct. So only one is correct. Okay, it is confusing. No, don't worry. It's deliberately I'm making them more confusing now. Because as we are increasing our, we are advancing with our lectures, obviously I have to step one step more, towards difficulty level. If all the questions are easy, then learning will not be that fun. Fine, it's okay. I don't want the right answer. What you've just done is what I want. Think, discuss, analyze, mission successful. Answers are not an issue. So well done there. Good morning, Raj. All right. Quickly, the next article, page number 6. Tense waters. Something similar to what we discussed yesterday. Yes, we are looking at GS paper 2, international relations, and mainly we are looking at the very disputed and controversial relation right now between China and Japan. So although it's a very small editorial article and the front page article, yes, Titaram, it was very confusing, right? That's the fun. The front page article today was once again talking about the governor and the president bill approving controversy, but this time I skipped it. I said my students will get fed up if today also I get an article on the same thing. I cannot torture them. This is the 20th time in this month we have done an article on presidential and governor timelines. I did not want to bring it. It will keep coming in the news. We'll do it later, but we should know more facts from the newspaper. So this article was a very short one, but then I have elaborated this article because from this article, I want you to learn. What is the root cause of the Taiwanese controversy? How did all of that start? Okay, so let's come back here. Page number 6, editorial. China and Japan are having a very conflicted relationship today. Why all this happened and what's the root cause? Let's examine through the map. Now, the map in front of you shows you China. It also shows you China's ambition of expanding into Taiwan. The red line here shows Chinese occupied territory, the way China wants to expand. You all know about the 9-dash line, the One China policy, the string of pearls policy. Yes, China has a very expansionist agenda in the South China, East China Sea. It also eyes upon the Indo-Pacific every now and then. Plus, on the right side of the map, you see Japan here. Now, Japan is one country whose territory you can see with a fluorescent green line. So, you clearly know that there is an area called Senkaku Island here. It was in the news. Senkaku, DIOU. Japan says Senkaku, China says DIOU. Ultimately, it's about the same chain of islands that's off the Chinese coast. Japan says it's my sovereign right. China says no. I have rights over Senkaku. That's one area. And the second area, very good aspirant. The second area is the Yonaguni Island. Today, the controversy has broken about the Yonaguni, but it also reminds us about the Senkaku controversy. So let's examine why did the controversy about Yonaguni, very good Terukula, why did the controversy about Yonaguni and Taiwan start? Where is Yonaguni? We saw the map yesterday. Yonaguni Island is situated about 100 kilometers off the coast of Taiwan. Correct. Why did the sudden controversy break out? The current controversy break out because Japan decided to install some kind of a military infrastructure in the Yonaguni Island. But China is extremely unhappy with that. China says by creating, very good Tarun, absolutely. China says by creating a medium range capacity missile in Yonaguni, by creating some military infrastructure here, you are trying to threaten the sovereignty of Taiwan. Because Taiwan, according to China, belongs to China mainland under the One China or the China One policy. That's what triggered the conflict now. This new leader of Japan, the First Lady Prime Minister, Miss Sinai Takaichi, she is a very nationalistic leader. She's very, very nationalistic. A lot of people are saying she's a very right wing leader. She believes in Japan first. She believes in promoting Japanese national interests like never before. Today, she says, I am not going to be quiet at all. Enough of enough. Japan, since the Second World War, has been a country that has been very isolated and quiet. It has done nothing to spend on its military infrastructure. It has done nothing to expand its army, defense, anything. But today, Japan says, looking at Chinese aggression, looking at aggression from countries like Russia, North Korea, even Japan is now committed under the new lady prime minister, who's a very, very ardent nationalist, to step up its funding of GDP into military. So both of them have had a very cold exchange of words. Japanese newly elected prime minister says, I will not tolerate any Chinese action against Taiwan. And in return, China said, if you do not take your words back, I am going to make you pay a very heavy price. So why is all this happening? Let's have a look at that. Now, tensions between China and Japan are not new. When it comes to South China Sea, these are very age-old tensions. Recently, obviously, they were triggered because of, as who told us, Tarun told us, and aspirant is, and Kojumba are telling. Recently, the tensions yesterday became very, very strong because of the Yonaguni Island controversy. But ultimately, the real bone of contention happens to be Taiwan. Why is Taiwan such a big bone of contention between the two countries? The main reason is that China and Japan already have certain kind of conflicted, disputed areas, the biggest one being the DIOU or Senkaku Islands. Every time China sends a Coast Guard ship, every time China sends any surveillance ship, Japan considers that as a part of interference in Japanese sovereignty. Unfortunately, as the Japanese leader was very strict and she said that I will not tolerate any Chinese action this time on Taiwan, how did China react? China reacted very badly. China stopped any kind of diplomatic negotiation with Japan. With immediate effect since yesterday, China has banned all the seafood and fish that are imported from Japan. China has issued travel warnings to its citizens from going to Japan. China is also accusing Japan of creating a missile deployment infrastructure in Yonaguni and completely trying to create a surveillance in the Senkaku. So both the countries are feeling they are giving each other's threats, yes, and they both are troubling each other's sovereignty. China also warns Japan that even if you come 1 inch near to Taiwan now, it will not be good for you. So what is this controversy about Taiwan? Let's quickly understand the history of the controversy in 2 minutes. Now, if you look at Taiwan, Taiwan, by the way, is a great ally of America. Let's not forget. Taiwan is a great friend and ally of President Trump. In fact, it is a favorite project of President Trump. It is President Trump who keeps supplying military, keeps supplying defense equipment to Taiwan. And US wants Taiwan to spend more on its military, almost 5% of GDP, just like the NATO countries are doing right now. That is one thing, keep in mind. At one corner of the mind, keep that. Now, coming back to the controversy. See, Taiwan was a country that was under Japanese rule. So, Taiwan was under Japanese rule from 1895 to about 1945. That's the end of Second World War. It was governed by Japan. At that time, a lot of people in Taiwan said that Japan has treated them very badly. There was a lot of controversy about hitting people, killing people, genocide, torture to the civilians. All that things came into light as Japan had occupied this territory from 1895 to 1945. The Chinese people there also said they experienced a lot of racial atrocity against them. And such issues are still alive. Such issues are still very popular in Beijing, mainland China. Even today, if you ask normal Chinese residents in Beijing, that's the capital of China, they will say that yes, Taiwanese people were insulted, humiliated, and tortured by Japanese forces until 1945. Now, what happened? Japan lost in the war. And after the Second World War, what happened? Taiwan was returned to Chinese control. After Second World War, after 1945, Japan returned Taiwan to China. And much later, what happened? Even within China, there was a split of power. Why did this happen? Because the mainland, the Chinese country, was divided between two political forces. One leader who owned one group in China that wanted to become the ruler is referred to as the Kuomintang. So he was the Kuomintang. We often call him as the leader of Nationalist Party of China, Kuomintang. The other main group that was ruling in China that time was the Communist Party of China, the CPC. And the Communist Party was led by another leader by the very famous name of Mao Zedong. We all know about Mao Zedong. So he was the leader of the CPC, the Chinese Communist Party, Mao Zedong. So mainland China was divided between these two major groups. But as Taiwan was returned from Japan to China in 1945, there was a very big confusion. That is Japan returning Taiwan to the first party in China led by Kuomintang, or the second group in China that is led by Mao Zedong, the Communist Party of China? That clarity never came. That was the main source of contention. Now in the mainland China, the Communist Party of China won. It emerged as victorious against the party, the smaller party led by Kuomintang. So what did Kuomintang do? Kuomintang and the group led by him, they all went and settled in Taiwan. While the leaders from the Communist Party of China and their followers, they occupied the mainland Chinese control, right? So in paper, who is the real owner of Taiwan becomes a bigger question, because Japan had returned it to one consolidated China. But then China itself broke up, where one party led by Kuomintang, the Democratic Party, the Nationalist Party, went to Taiwan and settled there. But the other party that is the dominant force in China, the Communist Party of China led by Mao Zedong, continued to occupy the mainland China. So today the confusion is both sides have kept on fighting a civil war to control China. And in 1945, obviously the Communist Party won. If the Communist Party won, then Kuomintang, as I told you, and his supporters, they all went to Taiwan and started living there peacefully. But the main problem is the Communist Party, who then became the ruler of China in the form of People's Republic of China, that is even the ruler today, formally in 1949, has still some kind of controversy ongoing with the smaller unit that is now in Taiwan, the Kuomintang and his followers. The Kuomintang, because they were in Taiwan in exile, they were defeated in the war to control mainland China by the Communist Party, right? By the People's Republic of China. They continued to live in exile in Taiwan, and there they created their own territory. They started calling it the Republic of China. So today there is a very big confusion. You may see in the news also that the party led by Kuomintang, the one that comes from Taiwan, is often referred in the news as ROC, Republic of China. That is the area of Taiwan. But the other one, that is the People's Republic of China, PRC, when you talk about the mainland China, led by the Communist Party of China. So now the controversy is who owns Taiwan. Japan says it's none of my business. I returned it after the Second World War, but who was the real owner? Now, those countries who believe in one China policy, China has its own policy, I told you yesterday, called One China policy. Under that policy, China believes that although Taiwan is governed with sovereignty, it is still a part of mainland China. It is not separate from China. That's China's One China policy. Because China thinks Taiwan is a part of me. But Taiwan in reality is working with a self-ruled party. It has its own sovereignty rights. It does maintain some kind of non-formal diplomatic relations with many countries of the world. It is also negotiating with APEC, that is the international forum. And this conflict continues to be unresolved. Those countries who believe in one China policy always treat Taiwan as a part of China. Those who do not will always consider China as separate. For example, America, the US, that keeps giving defense weapons and money to people in Taiwan. And that's the problem here. The long-term impact is that today also this controversy is unsolved since 1949 onwards. And this has created regional tensions about regional security, about America and Japanese policy in East Asia, about China's own territorial claims. So today, the party that had been led in the past by Kuomintang, who had retreated to Taiwan after having lost the Chinese Civil War, to the People's Republic of China, PRC, who had established a separate government in Taiwan, believe that Taiwan is autonomous, Taiwan is different. But China doesn't agree. China says ultimately these people went from China after being defeated by us, by our ruling party, People's Republic of China. So Taiwan should belong to me. Now that's the very big problem. And what does Japan say? Japan says after Second World War, I have given up all the territorial claims on Taiwan. Taiwan is not a part of me. I don't say that. But the only thing is that since Taiwan had been under Japanese colonial rule for a very long time before the Second World War, that's 1895 to 1945, and it remained under Japan for a very, very long time, there is still a lot of Japanese influence in Taiwan. A lot of cultural integration, cultural ties, practices, they are still very, very common to that of Japan. And that's the real problem. Okay. So because of that, the real ownership is still not clear. We all know Japan lost the war in 1945. There were two declarations. I'm just briefly mentioning the Cairo Declaration, the Cairo Declaration, and the Potsdam Declaration. Under this, all the territories that Japan had occupied during the war were given up. They were all released by Japan. Then another treaty was signed called the San Francisco Peace Treaty in 1951, in which Japan officially withdrew from Taiwan, leaving everything to China. But the problem is Japan made a mistake. As Japan signed the Treaty of San Francisco in 1951 and said, I am giving Taiwan, it did not specify whether it is giving Taiwan to the ROC or PRC. The Kuomintang-led ROC of Taiwan or the Chinese Communist Party led People's Republic of China, PRC, in mainland China. That's the real problem. So today nobody exactly knows what to do with Taiwan really, right? So many countries who believe in China one policy or one China policy say, what's the problem? Taiwan belongs to Beijing. Taiwan belongs to China. There is no problem. But sometimes there are some other countries like Japan who say that no, Chinese cannot keep on exploiting Taiwanese on the basis of an argument that you are my part and I can do whatever I want with you. So that's the confusion that's going on right now. And despite so many political tensions now, this is the main controversy. Who owns Taiwan? Even within China, it's controversial. But otherwise, if you look at China and Japan, today's conflict is very unfortunate. Because ultimately, they are great trading partners. China and Japan, together, the situation is that they have an economic interdependence. The bilateral trade between the two today also is $300 billion annually. $300 billion annual bilateral trade, China, Japan. And that's the kind of integration that they have. So today, if they all cancel exported products from each other, they stop issuing visas to each other, that's not going to resolve the issue of Taiwan so easily. The stability depends only on identifying the status quo and then figuring out how can we diplomatically negotiate over Taiwan. Fighting and escalating is not going to help. Also remember, there is another tension of America here because Taiwan happens to be a great ally of United States of America who keeps giving defense equipment to Taiwan. So that's the article. It is slightly confusing, but I do hope that I was able to give you a broad basic clarity about the Taiwan issue. Because everyone is asking then who has Taiwan? Taiwan comes from which territorial country? So nothing of that sort. It's still confusing. So remember the Treaty of San Francisco 1951. Japan gave it, but we don't know to whom did Japan give it exactly. Did Japan give it to the Kuomintang Taiwan side or to the mainland China, the Communist Party of China? And that's what's the main confusion. Okay. So now the question with reference to recent geopolitical developments in East Asia, look at the following statements. One, the Senkaku or Diaoyu Islands. Japan calls Senkaku, China calls Diaoyu. This dispute involves territorial claims between China and Japan. Easy. Two, Japan has historically maintained a policy of strategic ambiguity, lack of clarity. Ambiguity means confusion regarding the Taiwan issue. But recent statements indicate a shift in this policy. Three, China does not officially consider Taiwan as a part of its territory under the One China policy. 4. Economic relations between China and Japan remain significant despite historical mistrust and political tensions. So, which among these do you think are correct? It's not as difficult. Do it one statement by another. Absolutely good question, Saurav, but that's where foreign policy becomes very, very structurally difficult thing to manage. Why? Because if we do not sell the BrahMos, for India, it is a great source of revenue. It's a great source of endorsing India's leadership in defense supply chain, right? And also, for India, it is a matter of stopping and curtailing some of Chinese aggression in this area. So that's why for India, it's a very, very diplomatically balanced decision. Very diplomatically balanced decision, despite the fact that, yes, there is no clarity on the line of actual control. There is no clarity on the Arunachal Pradesh border. China calls it southern Tibet. We say it's our state. All that is valid. But sometimes, I mean, look at the situation here. China, Japan are enemies when it comes to so many territories, Senkaku, the Yonaguni, Taiwan, but still they have a bilateral trade of $300. So these are strategically balanced decision. Very good question, Saurabh. Okay, the answers are coming with Terukula, Sitaram and Tarun beginning. Everyone says the answer is C. Well, this time you're absolutely right. The answer is C. Very, very well performed. It was a tough question and still you've done very well. So very good, Kojumba, Prasanna and Anoop, A. Kumar. Very, very well done. Yes, A is correct. It is a dispute between these two. Absolutely. C3 is not correct. China does not officially consider Taiwan as a part. China does. That's the problem. Under China One policy, China considers it as a part of China. So 3 is not correct. 4, correct. The trade is significant. And 2, yes, there is the ambiguity from the side of Japan into Taiwan. Yes, absolutely. And it all happened in 1951. The Treaty of San Francisco. Japan released Taiwan. It gave it up. But to whom did it give it? It did not clarify. It should have clarified whether I am giving this to the majority party in mainland China, Beijing, to the People's Republic of China, or no, I'm giving this to the minority political party from China, led by the leader who had exiled to Taiwan. Am I giving it to them or am I giving it to them? That should have been clarified, but that wasn't. Okay, so it is correct. So absolutely C is the right answer. Here, only 3 statements are correct with 1 being wrong. Very well done. It was a tough question. Very good, Priyanshu. Excellent. Very well done. If anybody in future also wants any clarity on Taiwan issue, we can have a small discussion on that. Now, the smaller articles quickly. Kerala's population will rise until 2041 and then suddenly it will fall. Now, nothing new again. We all understand perfectly well that today in 2025, India is among the youngest countries of the world. I often tell you we have a youth bulge. What is the youth bulge? Youth bulge means we have a demographic dividend. Majority of our population is coming between the age group of 15 to 59. That's the young working population giving us a youth bulge, a demographic dividend. Dividend is an advantage, demographic is population. So we in India have an advantage of human resource, a young working population. Unlike the other old, mature and grey economies, grey societies of China, Japan, Russia, US, Canada, and all of that. That's a blessing for India. But there is a limit to everything. As per the reports by World Bank and UNDP, United Nations Development Program, this demographic window, this advantage of young population will only be valid till 2041. And after that, suddenly from 2045, India will also start becoming an old society. Why will this happen? Because our fertility trends are changing. Every country, I have told you earlier also, under the theory of demographic transition, undergoes three broad phases. It is the last and the most modern phase in which the birth rate becomes low. The death rate of the society also becomes low. Less people die because there is good scientific advancement in medicine, vaccination, good food, preventive healthcare. So, yes, people will live longer. Like in Japan, it's very common to see an average Japanese living up to 85. Yes. So, the longevity lifespan is up, death rate is low, but the birth rate becomes so low that it falls even below the death rate. That means, imagine a given society, very few people are dying young, most people live very long, but then the total number of births, that is even lesser. Very few children are taking birth. So what happens as a result of that? The society becomes old. This is called a grey society. An economy that is based on old population becomes a silver economy, and that is what India is going to face very soon from 2045. If you look at today's situation, on an average, India has already touched below the replacement level fertility. What is replacement level fertility? 2 children per woman. That's the perfect fertility rate. The number of children a woman will give birth to during her reproductive lifespan should be 2 ideally. Yes, but India today has fallen below that. On an average, we are 1.9. You might say, how is it possible? India is so populated. That's because in India, we have certain few states which have a very high fertility rate. Today, Bihar has the highest total fertility rate, about 2.8. States like Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, Maharashtra are falling down so much, they are touching 1.6. Yes, in India, we have a huge imbalance there. Some states are having a younger population because more children are born, and some very low birth rate, so old population. Here, the case study is on Kerala. According to this article, as per an estimation, Kerala will become the oldest state in India with the highest number of aged people above the age of 60, geriatric population. And this will be very visible after 2041. Why? Because in Kerala now, life expectancy will increase. People will easily be able to live up to 82 years by 2051. Average person in Kerala will live up to 82.9, almost 83 years. At the same time, the birth rate is so low. It's going to be lower than 1.6 also. The mismatch will result in a situation where majority population becomes old. That's going to be the situation now. So if you look by the number, then what happens? From 2015 onwards, Kerala's total population will dip to 3.55 crore. It will become quite low. It will be among the first states in India to experience a very, very low total fertility rate of 1.4 by 2051. Imagine, just imagine. Replacement level fertility is 2.1. Kerala will touch 1.4 by 2051. And look at the gap between Kerala and Bihar now. That's very interesting. The total population, the total proportion of, if you look at child population, young children, then Bihar will have the largest child population. Why? Because Bihar has a large fertility rate. And Kerala will have very, very low, about 19.3%. So just look at that. Kerala 19.3%, Bihar 30% child population. And that's what we are looking at. Kerala will have the largest percentage of people above 80 years. So what will happen now? Bihar will be the youngest state in India that supplies most of the human resource capital. And Kerala will remain as the oldest state in India. Yes, very good. Thanks for reminding that aspirant. Kerala is also the first state that declared itself free from extreme absolute poverty. Kerala is the first state to achieve 100% digital literacy. Kerala also is one of the few states with a very high industrial and GDP output, but at the same time, yes, the population is declining. The young population is declining. That means if by 2051, Kerala's population becomes 1.4, we can assume that although Bihar will be the youngest, Kerala will be the oldest state. Now, one more thing is there. If you look at total situation of India, then by 2023 itself, we had touched the total Indian fertility, TFR, total fertility rate of 1.9. I just told you what is the perfect 2.1. That is replacement level fertility. Why is it called replacement level fertility? Because if every woman has only 2 children, you can perfectly balance the population without the need of any population control. But India has already touched 1.9, much below the replacement level of 2.1. Yes, Kojumba, door to door policy in Kerala. Very good. Why in India are we having such a low population? Late marriages. Yes, also rising infertility because of health problems, better family planning, the work participation rate of women has increased. Perhaps pollution, stress are also leading to a lot of fertility problems. But there is a variation even across India in rural and urban areas. So please listen to this very carefully. While rural India has the total fertility rate still that's perfect 2.1 replacement level fertility, but urban has 1.5 in India, and that's very, very low. We all know Bihar has the highest 2.8. It is Delhi among the UTs, and in general in India that has the lowest right now 1.2. Kerala will have 1.4 2051, and the majority of old people are in Kerala. And just FYI for your information, GS paper 2 social justice, geriatric population, vulnerable population, Kerala also has the highest number of old age care homes in India. Okay. Now, quickly the question. With reference to the recent demographic trends in India, consider the following statements. 1. India's TFR in 2023 has fallen below the replacement level fertility. 2. Rural India continues to have a fertility rate significantly above the replacement level, while urban fertility rate remains very, very low. 3. Higher education level among women are strongly associated with lower fertility rates in India. And 4. Delhi has one of the highest fertility rates in the country due to high urban population density and delayed marriages. So which of these statements here do you think are correct? It's an easy question. Which of these do you think are correct? Yes, Anoop, very good. When it comes to SIR registration, it was on third level. Very good. Terukula already answers me. And as other aspirants are also trying to answer, okay, Terukula, that's very well said. Let's do the bottom to top approach. Is the fourth statement correct? No. Delhi has, in fact, one of the lowest fertility rates, about 1.2. The fourth statement cannot be correct. Then D cannot be valid. Then which should be the answer? A, B, C? Look at the first one. In India, the TFR has fallen below replacement level fertility. Is that true? Absolutely true. We just saw that replacement level fertility is 2.1. That's perfect. India has already achieved 1.9 in 2023. First statement is correct. First is correct. Very good. Everyone says the answer is C then. Very well done. Fourth is wrong. First is correct. What about the second one? Rural India continues to have a fertility rate that's significantly above the replacement level. Now think about that. Think about that. Is that correct? Rural India continues to have fertility rates significantly above the replacement level, while urban fertility comparatively remains low. Let's have a look at the data. We just saw a data which said rural India, the fertility rate is 2.1. Is this above the replacement level, or is this exactly replacement level? Yes, Sagar, Anoop, Kujumba, Prasanna. Thank you so much. Kuldeep. Yes. Terukula. It is above. 2.1 is the replacement level fertility. That's the perfect level. And rural India has 2.1 only. So is it above? Is it above replacement level fertility? If you look at the all India basis. No. It's not above the replacement level fertility. Significantly. What does the option say? Significantly above. No, it doesn't have significantly above. Second cannot be correct. First is right. Second is not right. Fourth is not right. So then C can also not be the answer, isn't it? It's equal to that, Eric. Yes, Dishank. Absolutely, Terukula. It's equal to that, no? So can't be correct. Now third one. Higher education level among women are strongly associated with lower fertility rates in India. That's true. That's true. We believe it or not, it's true. It is not the, yes, Prasanna, it's not the only cause of declining fertility, but it is strongly associated with lower fertility. When a woman is educated, there's a higher chance she will take up to a job. There's a higher chance she will take up to family planning. She will take up to reproductive health care. That reduces the cases of unwanted pregnancies, terminations, early pregnancy, underage pregnancy, definitely. It reduces her reproductive window. Rather than having a child at the age of 20, she may then plan to have a child at the age of, say, 25. So overall, 10 years reduction in the fertility rate also, right? 25 years reduction. So third again is valid. So then B becomes the answer. Only 2 questions correct. Very good, Saurav, Dishank, Sitaram, Eric, Terukula, Prasanna, Kuldeep, Kojumba, Tarun, Sagar, Saurav, and Priyanshu, and all those who've answered here. Very good. Okay, it was a slightly tricky question, I would say. Only we have to eliminate very carefully. That's beautiful, Terukula. I would like to give you a hand when you say that, because that's the agenda behind my classes. I want you to give me wrong answers. In fact, it makes me unhappy if everyone is right. Then what's the scope of discussion? I'll have to move on. But when we are giving answers little here and there, oh, it's such fun, because then we learn so much. That's a beautiful spirit of learning. I'm so proud of that. Beautiful comment. Now, the next article is a quick one again. What does it say? Anoop, second statement once. Okay, no problem. Yes, dear. Absolutely, why not? Second, rural India continues to have a fertility rate significantly above the replacement level. But what is replacement level fertility? Replacement level fertility is the fertility rate, the number of children a woman gives birth to, which exactly reproduces the previous generation. Then there is no need to balance population or do some kind of birth control. It's perfect. And it means 2 child per woman, 2.1. The statement is saying it is significantly above. No. The data says rural India has total fertility rate of 2.1. Urban India has much lower, 1.5, but the statement is saying significantly above. No, it is equal to that. The statement should have said, to be correct, that rural India has perfect or absolute replacement level fertility, exact replacement level fertility. So that makes a lot of sense. Thank you, Eric, and thank you, Sitaram. That's the spirit that is keeping these sessions alive. If it's not for your effort, then why would we have these sessions? That's so nice of you. Now, quickly, the next one, GS Paper 3 Defense. India and Russia are now signing another renewed pact for acquiring S-500. If we had, I'm so sure, Reshma and Ramu here today with us, who are not there and who also actively participate, they would have definitely told 2-3 lines about this, because they've been taking sessions since August. And now for all my dearest students who've joined after August, have we heard about S-500? Let's quickly do this article. So what is going to happen now? There is an upcoming visit coming by Russian President Mr. Vladimir Putin, the same individual who could not go to G20. Why didn't he go to G20 Johannesburg Summit? He couldn't go because International Criminal Court had given him an arrest warrant, so he could not travel. Okay. So in that context, the same person, Russian President Vladimir Putin, is now going to come to India on December 4th. Yes, he will be your guest now. And it is going to be a meeting at the high-level defense ministry between India's defense minister, Mr. Rajnath Singh, and the Russian defense minister. What's the aim of this meeting? The aim is to review the ongoing defense cooperation and strategic partnership. So what has happened? Please listen carefully. The main agenda is that India has acquired S-400 defense system from Russia. Yes, India has taken S-400 defense system from Russia. But India had originally ordered 5 units of S-400. Russia has so far been able to deliver only 3. So Russia has so far, very good Tarun, has been able to deliver only 3 to us. That's what they both are talking about. The other 2, total 5 were ordered, 3 have come, 2 will now come in 2026 and 2027. But what is so special about S-400? S-400 Triumph. S-400 Triumph. Yes, Eric, he will be very upset. Oh, he will be very upset. And by the way, before I close, thank you for reminding me, Eric. Today, the front page news says President Trump has made a new announcement. I will also say that before I leave. You will enjoy that thoroughly. It's very funny, actually. Okay, coming back. S-400 Triumph is a long range, as Tarun tells us, long range surface to air missile, SAM, system that is developed by Russia. It is one of the most advanced defense system in the world. What are the unique features? It will detect, track, and destroy airborne threats. It will be able to attack on aircraft, drone, ballistic cruise missile, everything. It can also hit targets up to 400 kilometers. It can intercept any missile up to 60 kilometers in altitude, and simultaneously it can engage with multiple targets. These are the beauties here. What has India done? India purchased 5 S-400 from Russia, but in India, this is known as Sudarshan Chakra. It was in the news throughout October 2025, Sudarshan Chakra. Sudarshan Chakra, India is trying to create a complete 360-degree protection system. And S-400 will provide that. So Russia has given us a total five. Out of that, three have been delivered. Two will now come in 26 and 27. This S-400, long-range surface-to-air missile, so advanced, is also called as Sudarshan Chakra by India. Do remember all that. Okay, it is Sudarshan Chakra because it has shown very big success during the Operation Sindoor. So therefore, today India is not only thinking of Sudarshan Chakra S-400, India is also considering purchasing S-500 system. That's one step more advanced. That will also be able to intercept ballistic missiles up to 600 kilometers and engage airborne targets up to 400 kilometers. So beyond missile system, both India and Russia are also trying to cooperate in creating joint defense platform. Now, please remember one thing before you answer the question. India has also identified an Indian company, Atmanirbhar Bharat. Atmanirbhar Bharat. India has identified, very good, Tarun and Saurav. India has identified one Indian company to establish a domestic maintenance, repair, and overhaul facility. I repeat, India will now create a maintenance, repair and overhaul capacity for S-400 system within India. That's Atmanirbhar Bharat, and Sudarshan Chakra mission, as Saurav has beautifully defined, will be a 10-year agenda to provide strategic defense infrastructure in India. The objective is to create an impenetrable wall outside India. Okay? Critical national assets will be protected. Beautiful, Tarun. Multi-layered protection. Now the question, Sitaram has answered already. With reference to recent developments in India-Russia defense cooperation, Eric answers, look at the following statements. 1. India has received 3 out of 5 S-400 air defense system from Russia. The remaining 2 will now come in 2027. They both will come by 2027. So please don't get mistaken. We are not saying in 27. We mean by 2027, both 2 will come. The remaining 2 will come. Second, India is exploring the acquisition of Russia's S-500 system that's capable of intercepting ballistic missiles up to 600 kilometers. 3. A domestic MRO facility is now being created in India, which will be operational for the life cycle of S-400 Sudarshan Chakra. And 4. This system has been officially called as Sudarshan Chakra in Indian service. What should be the right answer? Why only 3? Which statement is wrong here? Is the first not correct? Yes, that's correct. India has received 3. 2 will be scheduled by 2027. We will get all of them. First is correct. Is 4th not correct? Yes, 4th is also correct. Is 3 not correct? 3 is also correct. Is 2nd not correct? 2nd is also correct. Then why should D not be? Why is statement 1 wrong? Why is statement 1 wrong? Why are they incorrect again? India is exploring acquisition of Russia's S-500 system, capable of intercepting ballistic missiles at the range of 600 kilometers. What's wrong in that? That's true only, no? That's true, right? Dishank, Tarun, Terukula, Sagar, Saurav, aspirant, Prasanna, yes, that's correct. Saurav, Sagar, aspirant, correct. What about Eric? What about Kojumba? Yes, dear. A. Kumar, was it a difficult question? Okay, that's fine. Very well tried. Beautifully answered. Very well done, Sitaram, Terukula, Dishank, Tarun, A. Kumar, Sagar, Saurav, everybody. Well done. So here we'll have all 4 will be correct. I know. The question is also a little bit, I would say, It's not created very properly. It's not your mistake. See, the first one is confusing. For any normal aspirant, you will believe, oh, one is coming in 26, one in 27. That's why first is wrong. No, but that's why I was trying to clarify. We mean to say by 27, both will come. So first will be right. And similarly, third is also correct. Yes, we are making an MRO facility in India. After all, we have to become Atmanirbhar. Who will repair all these? Yes? I know, absolutely, Tarun. I knew majority people will have that issue. But I clarified also, that's the reason. But that's not your mistake. It's the mistake of the sentence formation in the first statement. So it's not your mistake. Technically, it's my mistake. The first statement should have been made more understandable. So you've done great job there. All are correct. Well done, Kojumba. Well done, Tarun. Well done, Krish. Everybody well done. No problem at all. Beautifully attempted. Well done. One of the last articles, India has said that our Samudrayaan will be delayed. That's a sad news. Why will Samudrayaan be delayed? Because Samudrayaan, in order to stay afloat in the water at a certain altitude from the sea level, needs a strategic equipment, and that equipment is referred to as syntactic foam. And that syntactic foam is typically manufactured in France. So from France, the provision of the syntactic foam has become delayed, and that's the reason why in India our Samudrayaan will also become delayed. Very good, Sitaram. Absolutely. So what's Samudrayaan? Samudrayaan is India's first human deep sea exploration project. Right? Just like Gaganyaan is the first human crew that will go to the International Space Station, Samudrayaan is the first human sea deep exploration mission. It's the part of a larger deep ocean mission. What's the agenda? As Sitaram already tells us, to reach to a sustainable depth, to be able to send three people, to the depth of 6,000 meters below the sea, to find resources and to explore biodiversity. We need the resource. Samudrayaan is completely Indian made. It's an Indian made ocean observatory system meant for oceanography, ocean research, to monitor and collect real time, immediate data, meteorological and oceanographic data. Another thing, it is a part of India's larger effort to promote maritime security, blue economy, more resource, climate research, disaster management. Very good, Tarun. That should remind you of the Matsya mission also. Beautiful. Now, Samudrayaan's mission. In the Samudrayaan, we have the Matsya 6000 submersible that can go inside the water. Syntactic foam. What's the use of the syntactic foam? It is a very important component of the Matsya 6000. Why? Because at this low level under the sea, this syntactic foam will be able to provide buoyancy. It will enable some kind of a thrust to keep the Matsya afloat in the water, to give it structural support, because the situation will be a very high pressure situation in the deep ocean. Without the syntactic foam, there is no solid structure. There is no buoyancy to give Matsya some kind of a foundation to stand upon. And today, as there is a delay in supply from France, perhaps the Samudrayaan will also be delayed. Ultimately, remember, Samudrayaan that will be deployed in the Indian Ocean, Bay of Bengal, Arabian Sea is ultimately to give us capacity to stand strong in harsh maritime climates also, in deep sea high pressure conditions also. In future, we need better forecasting mechanism for tsunamis, cyclone, other disasters. We have to support naval operations, fishing, port management. So for that, Samudrayaan is important. But without the syntactic foam, it is difficult to continue with the mission. So that's the reason. Ultimately, the larger intention is also with regards to India's blue economy policy, marine ocean based policy. That's it. So remember the syntactic foam. Remember France, how it is important to Matsya 6000, a component of Samudrayaan mission. That's it. Last article, there is a very strange development. I was talking about the front page news. President Trump has said yesterday, 2 people from Afghanistan have actually shot some security guards in America. And now President Trump is saying, no matter what, I will not allow any immigration from any developing country anymore. So no more developing citizens from developing countries will be allowed to immigrate to America. It's a very rough statement made by him, who is already known for his anti-immigration attitude. Now, this news on your screen talks about European Union and a country called Hungary. What has happened? We all know Hungary is a part of European Union. We all also know that after the Russia-Ukraine war, because NATO North Atlantic Treaty Organization is a major support, along with America, a major supporter of Ukraine, right? Ukraine was fighting with Russia. Because of that, European Union countries as well as America had imposed heavy sanctions on Russia. Just like Iran, they imposed sanctions on Russia that nobody will buy any oil and gas from Russia. In fact, US had given us the punishment of 50% tariff because we kept on importing cheaper oil and energy from Russia. Today there is a controversy within European Union. One controversy is that suddenly American president does not want to support Ukraine anymore. He tells Ukraine, stop the fight, otherwise you will never become a part of NATO. That's one controversy. Second controversy, there are certain countries who are so dependent on cheap Russian oil, that despite being a part of European Union, despite being a part of NATO, they still continue to buy oil from Russia. In fact, that is why India was angry. Indian leaders said that this is hypocrisy, this is double standards. European Union countries are merely buying oil from Russia because it's cheaper, and you punish India and Brazil for taking any support from Russia. That is double standards by you. Similarly, in the news today is Hungary. Hungary depends 65 to 70% on Russia for its oil need because Russian oil is cheap. I've told you many times. Russian oil comes from the Ural mountain area. It is very bitter. It has a high sulfur content, but it is much cheaper. Also, it is easy to transport that oil. Even for India, it's easy. For European Union also, it's easy. But unfortunately, look at the paradox here. Hungary is a part of European Union since 2004. It equally participates in European Union's single market structure. It participates in all the decision making of European Union like the Parliament, the Council of EU. Absolutely Kojumba. That's the spirit behind IR, international relations. One's interest is another. That's true. That's true. That's true. Very good. Now, European Union, whether it's European Commission, all of that, Hungary is a part of. But look at this. Hungary is also a part of NATO since 1999. Hungary is a part of NATO also. If it is a part of NATO, it is very much a part of Article 5 of NATO Charter, collective defense. Attack on one country is attack on another country. Yes, Hungary contributes to NATO's missions and exercises. Hungary also receives military training that is a part of NATO protocol. It gets the support from all the NATO allies, but still, you are a part of NATO also, you are a part of EU also. EU put sanctions on Russia, but Hungary is taking 70% of its oil from Russia. What is that? Is that not hypocrisy? Is that not hypocrisy? Punishing India, for which India is still paying a price. Indian currency is now depreciating. We experienced the highest trade deficit in October 2025, all because of America's double standards on tariff. Very good, Sitaram. The double tariff, yes, 25 plus 25, 50% tariff. But you did not give the same punishment to Hungary. Hungary is a part of EU, but it's nicely taking oil from Russia. Is that not double standard? Because under EU protocol, EU says, although we have imposed sanctions on Russian oil, but there are certain countries like Hungary, Slovakia, Czech Republic, who have a very poor oil resource, who do not get sufficient supply and who are highly dependent on Russia. They will be given some time limit. Slowly, they can reduce their dependence on Russia. Yes, and Hungary has used this opportunity. It's taking a lot of time, not slow time, lot of time. And it continues to not only import oil from Russia, but then yesterday he met the Russian leader and both are acting like the best friends. What to do, President Trump? What to do with President Trump? Absolutely sorry. This is a very strange behavior. It's an unstable behavior, yes. Now the last one. We all know Cyclone Ditwa has completely battered Sri Lanka. About 100 people have died, very unfortunate. And from there, it is now proceeding towards the Tamil Nadu coast. India is also completely invested in pre-disaster management. And the government has also made sure that despite 25 districts in Sri Lanka being badly hit, 6,000 families completely devastated, we are trying that something similar should not happen in India now. So all the attempts are being made to evacuate people out of the danger zone. Now, in the situation of Cyclone Ditwa, India has launched a support operation. This is called Operation Sagar Bandhu. Please remember, what's the name? Operation Sagar Bandhu. Sagar Bandhu in English, in Hindi means A friend in the sea, your friend in the sea. It's India's rescue mission in Sri Lanka. So what has India announced? Indian government has announced Operation Sagar Bandhu to help Sri Lanka in the case of this Ditwa crisis. And which vessels will participate here? So in rescue operations from India, India's aircraft INS, Navy's aircraft carrier INS Vikrant and frontline ship INS Udaygiri. Both are going to support in these operations. Yes, and also this is larger, this is in the line of India's larger commitment towards neighborhood first policy and Mahasagar vision. India had announced Mahasagar vision in Mauritius last year in March. Mahasagar, mutual and holistic advancement for security and growth across regions. India is strongly committed to supporting the global south countries. Okay, so India's first indigenous aircraft carrier, INS Vikrant, and largest stealth frigate, INS Udaygiri, are participating in a 3-day review of the situation. And yes, India is supporting various humanitarian assistance to Sri Lanka under Operation Sagar Bandhu. So that's it for the day. That's it for the day. Okay, now one quick reminder. Today at 3 p.m. I am doing a PYQ plus MCQ 2-hour class that will be live on YouTube, and that's meant for Prelims 2026. We will cover the various current affairs and questions in the last 1 week, some static, some dynamic, in a quick question answer session. So if your time permits and if you think it can help you, you are most welcome to join us. And now for those who are preparing for UPSC 2026, in case you need some kind of proper guidance, course material, books, one-on-one mentorship, thank you so much, Terukula. You have an exam. God bless you. All the best. Also, for those who are looking for professional guidance, who are studying for next year exam, it's a great opportunity if you really want to take help for the UPSC Prelims 26 for CSAT, also GS Paper 1. This, a price of 5,499 is available, and the sale is ending tomorrow, that's 30th November. The course will help you right from tomorrow up till June 2026. Cover your complete prelims preparation. Everything covered. News, current affairs, static topics, prelims, GS1, CSAT, MCQ, revision, all of that. Only 5,000 rupees, 5,499. If you want to apply for this program, if you want to send it to your friends, let them know it is called Live. SP Live, it's one click away. Okay, and for 27-28, we have equally exciting programs. The prices right now are quite reduced because of the new year. It's an achiever sale. So 30th November, you can also take up 27 guidance only at 12,499. And you can also contact us, reach back to us for more clarification. Okay, so thank you, Kojumba. Thank you, Anoop. Definitely, I can do that. Definitely. Definitely, we will have CSAT guidance, many sessions, Anoop, not just one, but we'll have many before the prelims. And I have also started my paid classes for CSAT, where I'm training. It's a 20-hour course. And in these 20 hours, I have a commitment that everybody who takes that course will be able to solve comprehension questions in less than 1 minute, 60 seconds. It's a challenge that we have taken. So if you are interested, you can definitely ask about that also, but we will get some YouTube class also. No, not a problem. Definitely we will make for beginners, essay writing. That's noted, aspirant. Absolutely noted. I'll do it for you. So bye-bye Deepak, Saurav, Dishank. Bye-bye Tarun. Bye-bye Terukula. Okay, bye-bye Shekhar, Sitaram, Kojumba, Terukula, Dishank, Tarun, aspirant, Sagar, Anoop. And who else was there with us today? Eric was there, of course. Kuldeep was here with us. Prasanna was there with us. Did I miss anybody? Priyanshu is here with us. Raj was there with us. Bulbul has been here. Tarun has been here. Okay then. Shikha was there. So God bless each one of you. See you tomorrow. All right then. Yes, Dishank. My Telegram group, I have to ask them to enable that. They have made the link, but they haven't enabled it yet for some reason. So I spoke to them yesterday. Today again, I will send a reminder to them. I think we'll do it. It's already there, so it will start now, anytime. Okay then. Thank you so much, Priyanshu. Thank you, Jayant. All right. There is an optional class. Is it, Dishank? I am not sure about that, but I don't have an information about that at 2:30. It will be there on the YouTube. If you have, and if it's your optional, definitely prioritize that. Okay. You can anyway take the class today or later also. So thank you so much. God bless you. See you on